I know that I have had a long requested hermit crab care video, so let's get to it. I think I'll start things off just by showing you a hermit crab, one of the crabs that I have. Now I don't think that he'll come out of his shell. He was moved a little bit just so you could see him, but this is a small to medium-sized hermit crab, purple pincher crab, and you can see that he's pretty happy in his home. I'll set him here and hopefully he'll do a little bit of walking for us. Now let's move on to care itself. We'll start with the outside, the exterior here, and that is a 10-gallon glass tank. Now your 10-gallon glass tank will be the minimum size to keep any hermit crabs. You can probably keep 3 to 4 small or medium-sized hermit crabs in a 10-gallon tank. The larger your hermit crabs get, or the larger hermit crabs you choose, the less you can keep. Now, I just want to mention that the little plastic critter totes or cricket keepers are not adequate for hermit crabs. Again, 10 gallons minimum. You cannot keep just one hermit crab either. They are very social and they like to have some buddies, so make sure that if you buy a hermit crab that you get him a friend or two. So now that we've covered the tank itself, why don't we move on to lighting and the lid that I have here. A lot of people will use screen or mesh lids that you can buy right at the pet store, but I like to use plexiglass just because it helps keep humidity in, and that can be cut at a local home improvement store to the size of your tank. For lighting, I just use the basic aquarium light hood with a couple of heat bulbs. And I don't have my lighting on all the time, but it is good if I want to look in or observe my hermit crabs. Now they won't come out so much in the light, they are nocturnal. So now we will move on to the inside of the tank, and we'll start with substrates. You always want to make sure that your hermit crabs can burrow into the substrates that you have. The Eco-Earth and the sand are great. You can use a little gravel cover here to keep your sand looking a little bit more clean, like I have over here. We'll give you a little view of that. It just looks a little bit better. And you always want to keep an area where they can burrow easily. So just gravel substrate is not adequate. You can have a little bit of gravel here and there, but that's about it. You want to have enough substrate that your largest hermit crab can burrow comfortably all the way down and still have substrate below and above him. So now that we've covered substrates, we'll move on to heating and humidity. To keep up heat, you can use heat lamps or heat pads like you see on the far left side of my tank here. The black area on the side of the tank is a heat mat. And you can keep up humidity by using sponges like you see over here. I have a sea sponge in a separate shell dish, as well as a sponge in my freshwater pool. You can also use a little bit of sphagnum moss in your substrate, which is what you see in the back there. It does retain humidity a little bit better. The best way to keep up humidity is to mist using a spray bottle. And to monitor both humidity and temperature, you'll want a dual thermometer hygrometer gauge. Your temperature should range between 70 and 80 degrees, and your humidity should be between 60 and 80%, ideally between 70 and 80%. Now we will move on to water. You can see that over here I have a saltwater pool, and in the back you can see that I have a freshwater pool. And you can also hear the phone ringing, but we'll just ignore that and keep moving with care tips. The water that you use must be dechlorinated. That's very important. And you'll also, to mix salt water, use a little bit of salt water or reef aquarium salt. That is my best advice. Water conditioner that can be used for aquariums is usually the best, more inexpensive than that specialty hermit crab dechlorinator. It's really nothing more than what you'd buy for fish. So don't be tricked into buying specialty hermit crab products. They're really no different than traditional fish or reptile products. Now, a little added feature I have in my freshwater pool is an air stone that bubbles and boosts humidity a bit, powered by an external air pump. So you can do a few different options with your salt and freshwater pools, but you need to have both. For climbing structures, you can use things such as cholla wood, the biovine setup you see here, fake plants. I always recommend checking craft stores, the dollar store. They tend to be much more inexpensive than the plants that you'd buy at the pet store. I believe that both of the plants you see in here are from Michael's craft store. They've always got some great things. I put a lot of those plants in fish tanks, hermit crab tanks, other reptile enclosures. Always check the craft stores. Driftwood here, rocks, the climbing background, a wood hide over here. Hides are always very important. They just help keep your reptile or small animal a little bit more secure. I really like the half coconuts. You can see those at the pet stores. Unfortunately, one of my crabs changed into a shell that was just a bit too big to fit into the coconut, so I changed it to the log. Now, also in terms of decorations, you'll see a lot of shells in this tank, but they aren't just for decorations. Your hermit crabs will switch shells as they grow, or if they're just in the mood for a change. Always make sure that the shells are natural and are not painted. And you want to have quite a few. You can see that I have quite a few in the back here, in the front, and the sides, and varying in sizes, but all natural shells, no paint. Now, the other thing that I should mention here is the diet of the hermit crabs, which is very important. So we'll move there next. Right now I'm feeding tomato, grape, and a little bit of lettuce. Your hermit crabs can eat everything from vegetables to fruits to meats. You can serve unseasoned chicken and ground beef. You can serve fruits like grapes, blueberries, pineapple. If you'll eat it, chances are they will too. They are scavengers in the wild, so their diet is pretty flexible, but you don't want to be feeding them anything that's too fatty, too much sugar. Stick with the natural foods. So again, vegetables, fruits, a few different meats. They are omnivores. And you'll see a lot of this hermit crab diet in a lot of different types at the pet store. You could buy a bottle of that and feed just a little bit of it now and again, but it is not their core diet. They do need to have fresh foods. When you serve fresh foods, you should mix with a little bit of calcium supplement. Hermit crabs do need calcium. You can also use a little bit of Cuddlebone. You'll see that I have some of that in the back there. And that way they can do a little bit more regulating of their own calcium intake. So the diet is pretty simple. Usually what you have around the house in terms of fresh foods can be given to your hermit crabs. Now, I don't think there's anything I forgot to cover, but if there was, make sure you give me a shout out in a comment or message, and I'll be sure to go over that. And also, don't forget that if you haven't already, you should subscribe for more cool videos like this. And always comment and request if you have any requests for videos about this tank or any of my others. Feel free to request via comment or message. And I think that's just about it for hermit crab care. As you can see, they're not quite as simple as some people think, so it's a little bit more than just going to the pet store and buying the plastic tote and some hermit crabs. You really do have to put a little bit more thought into it. And I think I'll end with a little bit of fun. We'll come over to the side here, because one of my hermit crabs is climbing the climbing background. That same one we took out earlier is climbing up, ready to go. So as you can see, they are fun to have. But you do want to make sure that you provide them with proper care, just as you would with any other pet. So again, don't forget to subscribe, request, and comment. Thanks for watching.